I'm Sam Rose, and this is Commerce is Chaos, the podcast for consumer brand founders who know that building a business is messier than the highlight reel shows. Your supplier just missed their deadline, your top product is out of stock, and your competitors somehow just launched the same thing at half the price. Sound familiar? Every week, we dive into the real problems that keep founders up at night, from inventory disasters to supply chain nightmares, because surviving the chaos is what separates brands that fail from brands that scale.
The amount of love that is going in to each of these little brands to get the little bit of consumer attention they need for their freaking hardworking, founding teams to just make it work is incredible. And because this is a part of the world that I'm sort of continually obsessed with, the amount of physical logistics that goes into making all of this happen is just 100%. Extraordinary.
It's unbelievable. I did this thing over the weekend. There was a complex hosted a family food festival in LA, and they had a really great activation called The Pantry that Square and Cash App were promoting. And essentially, if you download the Cash debit card and order one, then you could get 3 items from the pantry for free. And so the Paro Tarka and the Paro fennel seeds were part of this activation. And it's, such a simple activation, not a lot of work, right? Just sending over 200 units, they're buying it. It's great. They're buying it at retail. And it required so much work that I was like, wait. And my biggest thing, and this is my founder delusional hat, my life thesis is how hard can it be? So whenever I say, how hard can it be? So and for these fennel seeds, we've been out of stock for this insane tin issue, which I'll tell you about. But I was like, okay, how hard could it be? I'm just going to order some tins that are unlabeled but filled, and I'll hand apply the labels on top. I'm just so frustrated with supply chain lead times, and I'm I refuse to give up marketing opportunities. So I'm going to DIY it with my co-packer. And something as simple as that, still, I was like, this was so much more work than it needed to be. And I recently heard this in Emma Green's podcast, which I love, but she was like, I'm the kind of person that will always put things together, and everyone is always I have no idea how you did that, but you did it because you always figure shit out and you make it happen. But Emma Green was like, imagine if you can if things can work out with you putting it together at the last minute, or somehow I don't know if that expression is in English, getting by on a thin line or something. She's imagine how much better that could be if you had more time to plan it.
Right.
And I actually feel as a founder, it is so hard to plan everything in advance because every day has a different fire that you're trying to sort of I don't know how to use these expressions, blow out or something. Put out. I'm terrible at idioms. That's the one thing in English that I don't know.
Sending out the fire.
I mean, I once emailed an investor and I said, oh, do you have a few minutes so I can pick your ear instead of saying pick your brain? Top 5 most embarrassing moments in my entire life.
Check.
Well, they called it out, and I will never use that expression again. Can I pick your brain? I feel like it's too vague and I don't want to do that to people. But
yeah, fair.
Anyways,
bend your
ear.
I
mess up on idioms on this call. Huh?
Bend your ear.
Is that what you're supposed to say?
There is an idiom that is bend your ear.
The other day, I mean, this is I don't know if this is going to be part of the podcast. We'll decide later, but I'm coming out with these lentil chips. So I wanted to see, I had my packaging supplier send me, he sent me the die line, and I'm like, what does it look like? I need to see it in person.
Do you like it? You got notes? Should we break it down?
Chip bag.
Let's do the review. Let's break it down. What are you looking for?
Well, this is the first time I'm seeing a 4-ounce chip bag from this factory, and I have already put my artwork on a die line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print my die line in this size, front and back. I wish I got more than one. That's my first thing. And I also wish that it was just this silver color, so it'd be easier to cover up this popcorn brand, but whatever. But now I'm going to go print everything out. I'm going to glue it on top of here, and I'm going to somehow staple or heat seal it. And then I'm going to go to these retail stores, and I'm just going to randomly ask people hey, what do you think about this?
Amazing.
But actually what I think I'll do is I have a couple of different design options. I'll put one design option on this side and another design option on this side maybe. And I'll show it to people, like random customers, to be like, would you buy this? What do you think it is? What do you think it tastes like?
What's the artwork on there now?
It's like he handmade me a sample.
Just random, just stock material.
Yeah. Stock material.
But the weight of it, the thickness of it is going to be the final weight.
Yeah, the thickness is great. The matteness is great. This has like a silver foil printing, which I don't want to do because it's expensive.
It's expensive.
It looks great. I mean,
Great.
yeah, I wish I got more than one, but.
Well, I mean, you know what you can do is just go buy some Fritos that are in the same bag size. And if you're going to like bedazzle it anyway.
I know. We'll do that again. We'll do it again. But or maybe not, because we can talk about how no one knows what South Asian food is, and it's like,
let's educate everyone.
Let's educate everyone.
South Asian comfort food. You're bringing your mom's Pakistani pantry staples to mainstream American market.
Yes.
You're first generation Pakistani American.
Yes.
And your mom made amazing spices in Ziploc bags. These are my notes.
Yep. Yeah, amazing.
And now it's like a national brand. So you're good at spices and you love your mom. And now your day
I
is
love my
like
mom's food. I mean, I do love my mom, but I love my mom's food more.
Even more. And now you're spending your day. So hypothetically, you're like, you have good taste, right? Literally and figuratively. And now your job is to glue things to dye line in new packaging sizes.
Exactly. And then walk into a grocery store and bombard customers who are just trying to buy their weekly groceries and be like, can you please help me? My life depends on it, quite literally.
How does this feel different from your job at Glossier?
I don't. The thing about Glossier that's so interesting is, like, I was a third employee there, and I joined when I was 26. Like, I'm 37 now, which is like, I'm so aging myself, but I was there for 4 years at such an incredible time in my career. And I think, like, you know, I'm an older millennial. I grew up in the girl boss era, you know, like that was my dream always, to follow these like footsteps of like Emily and Sophia Moroso. Like, my friend sort of relates the girl boss era to like in the 90s, how everyone wanted to be in like a boy band. And she was like, it was but it was like sort of a period of time that we all grew up together, myself and like my counterparts in my career, where we were like, this is our whole world. Our whole world is building brands.
It that way, you know?
Yeah, like we want to build these brands and bring them to people and build these universes. And I had met, I'll never forget, I joined Glossier after I was working at Google Shopping Express. And my job at Google was, if you want to talk about operations, my job at Google, which I know, they were launching Google Shopping Express, which is same day delivery in New York. They had launched it already in LA. They had launched it in, I believe, DC and Austin, but they were now launching it in New York, which is a very different, real estate than LA, because you have no space and these retailers have no space in the back houses. The way that it worked essentially is that our team, we would onboard, let's say, Fairway, which we did. And my job was to essentially work with Fairway and their store locations in New York to figure out how to activate this partnership. And the way the partnership worked is that you could buy, a pack of Q-tips from Fairway. You get it delivered same day. There's 3 windows, 9 to 12, 1 to 3, 5 to 7. And what Google Shopping does in that moment is that we have a fleet of contractors that are essentially working for us. They are staffed in each Fairway. And so when they get an order on their phone, they're like, oh, let me go pick this order. And then they bring it back to the back of the house. We had set up these like U-line carts where you could have like the packaging and the label dispenser and the tape. And then they hand it off to a packer. The packer packs it. And then they put it on a different U-line cart, which is like the staging cart for the driver to come pick it up and deliver it to you so you could get your Q-tips in time. And so that was what I was doing before I joined Glossier.
How hard could it be? And this was funny because I remember telling Emily Weiss this in my interview, like one order came in for a baguette and I don't know how it got through, because like technically it was only shelf stable, like no produce, no food, but somehow it got through. And so now you're like standing in the back of the Fairway and you're like, okay, I got to pack this baguette somehow.
in a way that makes sense for the customer and it's not going to get dirty or whatever. And then I also launched Costco. Talk about operational creativity and curiosity. We ended up getting a U-Haul van. And this is the Costco in Harlem. And we needed extra space for storage, for staging. And Costco was like the biggest account. Of course, all the orders came in for that. All of the Costco items are massive. So we got a U-Haul van, or like a big van, and we built a staging situation in the back of the van with U-line materials. So like a car, a shelf, the front seat was like orders that started with 2. The back seat was like orders that started with a 4. And then because you couldn't leave cars overnight at Costco, we would like drive the U-Haul van from like the 2nd floor to the 6th floor or something, like every day. Like it was a true operational challenge, but I loved doing it, and like it was such a challenge to figure out how to do that. I don't know if Google Shopping Express still exists today. But coming out of that role, what I really missed, and this is now coming back to Glossier, what I really missed was being part of the brand. And, of course, as someone who works on the grocery side of things, your job is the operation itself. And the operation is 7 days a week, 24/7. The limits we would go to make sure people got their order on time. This is why I always like have such a soft spot for like anyone who works at like DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. It's a very, very difficult job. Instacart. And I had gotten introduced to Emily through a friend. And so at the time, we only had Into the Gloss. Glossier had not launched. And so I remember going into the interview to meet her, just feeling like, I don't know what I'm going to say in this meeting. Like, I'm not a writer. I just only started following Into the Gloss when I heard about her. I didn't know anything about it. And I remember going to the meeting, like looking a little disheveled because it was raining. I wasn't prepared. And she was like, oh, we're launching a brand and we need ops help. And immediately I like sit up straight and I'm like, I can do this for you. Like, I just figured out how to sell a baguette in a bag. Like, I can figure anything else out. But I had never worked in beauty before. I had never been this close to building a brand, and I remember just saying that to her, being like, I'm really good at operations. I can make anything happen. I haven't done beauty before, but we'll do it and we'll figure it out. And it was like the most incredible 4 years ever.
Wow, what a ride. And to tie in our boy band theme, I mean, I realized that I Want It That Way is probably like the founder theme song because we
I
do
like
want it that
that.
way,
I
but
do want it
also
that
ain't nothing but a
way.
heartache.
Wait, that's so good. I might steal that for my TikTok today. Which part of being a brand owner is
It's
also
yours.
making TikTok?
I gotta go like read through all the lyrics, but I'm pretty sure we're being seen. I want it that way. Yeah. Okay, so you launched your brand um direct to consumer in February 23, and you're
Yeah.
moving toward retail right now, but you're in specialty, right? And now you're yeah. 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 Mm. I want that. And that for you, I mean, it sounds like there are a number of these sort of specialty ingredients where compromise is just not an option, right? Like if you need it to be made with key, you just have to go do that thing because it won't be authentic otherwise. Is that right? It sounds like for to deliver an authentic product where authenticity is like ingrained in the brand, right? Like it's like the
Mhm.
whole point is these are flavors that are inaccessible through like what's standard off the shelf. And somebody needs to kind of like speak in this voice to the customer. Some of the specialty ingredients that you need to source are not like you can't compromise. If you need the key, you just need it, right? Like
Mhm.
you can't
Mhm.
just sub it for something else. And that has an impact on, well, yeah, like the complexity of the supply chain that you're managing, how difficult and long it takes, how difficult it is and how long it takes to stand it up. And then like your unit economics.
Mhm.
And are there places, I guess my question is like, my impression is that you have to be uncompromising. Have you been able to find anywhere that you can compromise and still like deliver the customer experience that you want to deliver? And you can tell me without killing me.
I think that a couple things. I think, unfortunately, when you launch a brand, you have these like, how hard can it be opinion where you're like, I'm not going to compromise on anything. I want this to be authentic. I want it to be 65% full of key, even though it's $8 a pound. But very quickly you realize it's not scalable. And so you do have to compromise. And so I think like what I'm doing with Paro, I think there's there's incredible brands that are selling spices. There's incredible brands that are selling other elements of South Asian food. I specifically wanted to create a easier solution that was more ready to cook, not ready to eat, but ready to cook, in the sense that all of the materials were there. And what that like initial barrier to entry would seem that initial barrier to entry would seem easier to a new customer who wants new flavors and wants to try new things in their diet and they don't know where to start. And I think for me personally, like, I think everyone will say starting a business is like you're finding a solution or for a problem that you yourself have. And for me, the challenge was my mom would give me these, huge recipes of things to make. And I would be like, this has too many ingredients. Like, I know I can't do this, especially in my tiny New York City apartment. And so that's when she started creating these little Ziploc bags and was like, just add it to water. I've done the hard work for you. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, I'd rather just have 10 Ziploc bags than have to figure it out myself. And so, um, I think when it comes to like compromising on ingredients, I will say like the Tarka is an extremely expensive product to manufacture. Like, I spent a good 12 months last year, and I would argue I spent maybe a little bit too long on trying to make it work, like trying to different factories, trying to figure out the formula, doing so much R&D work. And I think that as a founder, one of the skills you have to learn is when to like press pause and pivot, or press pause and be okay with saying like, this is not moving right now and I'm spending too much of my time on this and I need to do something else. And I do feel like I spent a lot of time trying to make that product work. And it's such an incredible product. Like, my friends and I always joke that like we need to keep all the inventory for ourselves because I'm scared it's not going to come back. But it's just like that amazing. And I have the loyal customers. I know, I'll definitely send you one. And it's like incredible on eggs. It's so good. It's this rich flavor that really you can't find anywhere else. But I had to press pause on it. And I said, I have spent so many months talking to so many manufacturers. I can't get the recipe right. The margins don't make sense. It's a really big capital investment to produce all of this inventory, let alone buy the ingredients. And like, it's for a product that I don't have product market fit on. Like, is this still where I should focus my attention on? And so like one of my big learnings in 2024 as a founder was like, you just can't put all your eggs in one basket, and like if the supply chain was just, I don't know. So what I'm trying to say is that I hope that product comes back. I mean, I have a little bit left of inventory, but when that sells out, it's going to take a little bit of a pause. But I think that you do have to make compromises, and then I started looking into compromises with ghee. Like sometimes you can use like a flavor, a natural flavor to give you that same taste and smell. And that's a compromise that I was not willing to take because I didn't want a natural flavor on my ingredient list. And I was like, this is not what I thought it was. And so sometimes when you don't want to take a compromise, it means selling out. And it means like just waiting for that product to come back, which is not ideal. And it certainly doesn't work in retail. And I think like on the flip side, like something like our candied fennel seeds, which I also will have to send to you, are these like delicious candy coated, it tastes like a licorice essentially. And it's a post-meal digestive. It reduces inflammation. It's great. It's like a staple again in South Asian diets. And I feel like the one thing that I've always tried to do with Paro is take these like really simple and great elements of our diet that are so nostalgic to us, but just haven't hit mainstream America yet. And the fennel seeds are one of those where when I launched them initially as a surprise and delight. So, something that I learned a lot about in my beauty consumer brands, it's all about the surprise and delight of the unboxing experience. And so in every order of Paro for the first like 12 months, you would get this free tin with the fennel seeds inside. And I saw just naturally, organically, how much people loved it. They were like, oh, I haven't seen this in so long. The format is so cute. You can like take it with your anywhere. It's like pocket sized. My kids love it. It's nostalgic. And then for people who hadn't tried it, they were like, wait, this is so good. And so that started my next like project where I was like, I'm going to bring this back as an inline SKU, which I did earlier this year. And we sold out very quickly in like 5 weeks, which was amazing. But now I'm like, okay, I'm back to the same problem of supply chain. And in this case, what was happening was that these, if you look for these fennel seeds candy coated anywhere in the US, they are made with artificial dyes. Like, I could not find any that were not made with artificial dyes. And so, right around the time when like we're having this conversation about Red 40, as a founder, I'm like, wait, do I continue making this product with Red 40 or do I pause and wait to get natural fennel seeds that have natural food coloring? So I chose the second option. Again, I had a pause and I was like, okay, I have to sell out. And I just was so curious and like motivated to find and make a version that was with natural colors. And so I started asking around. I met this natural food coloring co-packer or manufacturer in Atlanta that like one of my friends was using for her gummies. And they were incredible. They sent just like sample sizes, but enough for me to make my first batch. And then at the same time, I was really one of my sort of core ethos and goals has been like, I want to make something in Pakistan and I wanted to say made in Pakistan.
Mm.
As like a Pakistani American, like I've only been to Pakistan twice, by the way, like I'm 37. And so it's not, I identify, it's like, I think having a cultural brand, it's like so much about your own journey of figuring out where you sit with your like culture and heritage and how you bring it to life in your own unique way. And for me, I was like, okay, I went to Pakistan right before I had launched Paro. And I was like, I want to really manufacture something here, but I have no idea where to start with supply chain and how to figure all of that out. And I have no connections there. I don't have a network. Like my parents don't know anyone. And so I happened to meet another founder who's also Pakistani, and he has this amazing company called Pulpito Bites. And I told him what I was looking for, and he was like, "Oh, I think that I can probably help you." And so, like, he started working with me, and I think it's just also an example of how important it is to help other founders win, right? And it's like truly that thing about like if one of us wins, we all win because we all have the same goal. And I thought like he embodied it so well, where he was like, oh, he is from Pakistan, his family is still there, he produces his product there. And so he put me in touch with someone, and we just got our first batch of natural candy coated fennel seeds like a month ago.
That's awesome.
That was a long
And
story.
you're
Yeah.
selling. Like they're online.
So now the second piece of the operation is my battle with metal tins coming out of China. Like it has been so tough. Like as someone who also my expertise is operations, I say this all the time where I'm like, how is it that the operations of things that I'm working on for Paro are so hard, but I can easily do it for someone else? I think there's two things. One is like, I don't have as much capital as other VC-backed companies that I work for or consult for. And I think the second thing is like, when you don't have a lot of volumes, your suppliers don't pay attention to you. Like no one cares about my 5 or 10,000 unit order, which I think is like still pretty substantial. Like to order 10,000 units, that's an MOQ.
Yeah.
But it has been really hard to get, my previous supplier sort of went MIA, like also was giving me a lot of wrong information about the tariffs. And just sort of like saying things that weren't actually what I was reading in the news. So you have to like sort of be like, okay, should I go with this? It's a risk because I might have to pay an extra 80%. Then I started working with brokers. The tin has been a really hard piece of the operation, but I think I'm getting closer. I've just every day I wake up and I'm like emailing my suppliers for the tins every single day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard to overstate how much. Okay, so we've touched on a bunch of themes here, and the ones that I want to pull on more are ability to pivot, right? And just like call it on the field when you have to. That's another idiom.
Wait, what is it called?
Call it on the field. You
Call
make
it
a
on the
decision
field.
sort of like on the field of play.
Call it on the field. Okay.
Like a decision in the moment kind of a thing.
Got it.
So yeah,
Okay.
you got to be able to call it like, and then pivot quickly over and over and over and over again. And since we're all doing that all of the time, building a network of friends who are willing to help you, and not because they want money from you, but just because they like want to pay it forward. Like,
Yeah.
so key. I
So
probably
key.
take like 10 phone calls a week where I'm just like, just tell me how I can help you, right? Like, I don't like,
That's
I don't want to
amazing.
be
10
your
is good.
advisor,
Yeah.
or you don't have to pay me to be your consultant. Just like, tell me what the problem is, and I'll see if I can connect the dots.
Yeah.
Because
Amazing.
we have to do that for each other. It's like, it's war. And,
100%.
and then, and also the world is throwing stuff at you. Like, it's throwing tariffs at you. If you don't have that ability to just like adjust quickly and still be happy, or be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that path wasn't going to work, so let me ask somebody
Mm-hmm.
what I could do
Yeah.
instead. I mean, that really starts to build out what I think is kind of like the DNA of not only the type of people who can get this done, but also just the getting done of it
Yeah.
all.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, now I'm considering option C, which is perhaps I get unprinted tins and they're, over labeled here in the US. And that's a quick and easy way for me to have products by holiday, which is what I'm trying to do. And it's also like, we're on Fair, and Fair is such an incredible
Yeah.
supporter of small brands. And I see all of my pre-orders rolling in, and I'm like, I need to make this revenue, right? Like, I'm sold out. I need to figure out how to get this back in stock ASAP. So it's a lot of compromises. It's a lot of just like what can I do with what I have in front of me and make the best of it?
Yeah. This reminds me of big back to your Ziploc bags, which I just
I
love.
know, right?
Or really your mom's Ziploc bags. So,
Yes.
okay, the Momofuku, like
Yes.
the soy and tamari, the whole CPG line where they label it with like the painter's tape, because that's how, like,
Yes. 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 Yes.
back of house and food service,
Right,
like we
back
all
of the
have
house, they
our
do it. Yeah,
yeah. Like, I wonder if you just take a cheeky angle like that.
I
It's not
know,
elevated.
right?
It's intentionally not elevated.
It's
It's just like,
intentionally,
here's
it's like, yeah, I know.
EXO.
Honestly, like, so EXO, like, enjoy it. They're natural. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think it's always, and I think it gets tricky because also as a small brand, you want to build brand longevity and you want to build like brand awareness. And so I do feel like, okay, people love the tins. And I was contemplating and did again, so much work on sourcing what a tin could look like. And so I looked into plastic, I looked into this like paper tube option. And similarly, like those options are still in the works. I just haven't been able to finalize anything because everything this is the one thing I will say about just like the tariffs and supply chain. I have never seen things be this slow. I'm inclined to say that it's not just me because I've done this for so many years, and I think it's a combination of supply chain being hard, tariffs, and the bigger brands probably taking more priority because they're trying to like mass order before the tariffs go into place, or they're trying to like protect their supply chain. There's something happening where I feel like as a small brand, it has become immensely difficult to get anything out of Asia in a way that I have never felt before. So that's like just another operational challenge where I'm just like, like, and I'll find myself just like, talking to myself and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, this is something that is so unimaginable. And so I'm constantly like, literally I'll call different tin suppliers that I find on Google and I'm like just trying to backtrack and figure out who is it me or is it the industry, and I think it's the industry and it's a small brand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the irony is we're all trying to answer that same question.
Yeah.
Everyone at once. The amount of it, like the meta view of it is really wild, because the number of, sometimes I think about this in terms of like people at a concert taking a photo
Yeah.
with their phone. Like, you have I mean, tens of thousands sometimes of like
Yeah.
nearly similar photos, like to the pixel.
I mean, I was at a
But
concert
like
yesterday. I have
everybody,
so many. Yeah.
so many photos, right? The person right next to you, so many photos.
So many
And
photos.
we're kind of creating like very, very similar content, but just
Yeah.
with a tweak, which is like you're in seat, 13 instead of 14. And I think about that a lot with like answering the meta questions around like supply chain management or operations in general. Just like there there's a lot of common ground here. And then
Yeah.
there's like scrappy people trying to figure out whether or not they're taking a picture from seat 13 or seat 14, and like what their
Yeah.
specific view of this thing is.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's always that. And it's just, yeah, it's just, every day is a different challenge and battle. And I'm just constantly trying to figure it out.
Okay, can we do a Tarka breakdown?
Yes.
Okay,
About the
I want to hear
cogs?
from you.
About the
Well,
cogs or
yes.
what?
Well, okay, I'm curious of the cogs, if you'll share. And also, and maybe this is, part of kind of the same thought process. Like, what are your signals for stop, pivot versus signal to go back in? And because I've hit the same wall several times myself, where I'm like, the amount of blood, sweat, tears, and dollars I have put into this thing is like so high. And so am I looking at sunk cost? And I just need to be realistic with myself and say, well, those costs are sunk. Like, I don't, or am I like 10% of the way to being done? And like,
Yeah.
let me finish like the final
Yeah.
10%. And I
Yeah.
constantly kind of trying to weigh those things. Okay. So with using Tarka as a lens,
Yeah.
this product where you kind of like got all the inputs, you got it most of the way there, then you had to pause and pivot, and now you're looking for signals to turn it back online again. I'm really interested to hear your process around that.
Okay. Okay, great. Let me preface this by saying two things about the pivot, which is one, I am getting better at it. I think it's a skill that every founder has to learn, because I think the first piece is that we're so passionate about our products and trying to make something happen that it's really hard to be like, I think also as like a founder and someone, we're like high functioning type A people, we're like, how can I not figure this out? Like, so
Right.
going back to that question of like, how hard can it be? And I'm like, how hard can it be? Like, how is it possible that I haven't figured out the answer to this? And so I think there's also this relentless, it's almost like this inability to just like quote unquote pivot because it seems like you're giving up. And so I think
Well,
I did
and
a
that's how
lot
you
of,
start, right?
yeah,
Too. The whole point, the reason that you're able to start is that you were unable to take no for an answer. And so
yes,
that gets you over like the catalyst of getting
yeah,
into the business. And then when you're in the business, you're like, oh shit, sometimes I have to take no for an answer. But that is
yeah,
like completely at odds with everything that made you fit
yes.
for the purpose.
For who I am. Exactly. And that's gotten me where I am, is like by not taking no for an answer. And so here I am having to admit defeat. And that's how it feels on a personal level, even though I know like objectively that's not how it is. What I ended up doing is I took too long to pivot, but I finally did. And I sort of looked at it from the lens of like, okay, what I love about the Tarka is it's extremely like an incredible flavor profile. And my goal is to, at a whole, introduce these flavors to a mass American audience, right? So if I look at it from that perspective, and the second challenge is like a Tarka, a condiment takes longer to go through than something else. Like the velocities are just longer. The challenge with the Tarka is that ghee will solidify, and the best way to use this product is actually to heat it up, but it's not obvious. It requires a lot of education, and you sort of go through like a fly by jing faster because it's already ready at shelf stable. And so I knew I had to change the formula a lot to reduce the amount of ghee so it wouldn't solidify, and increase the amount of olive oil. And I wanted something that would have better velocities and be at a more affordable price point and an easy product for people to convert to. And this sort of leads me to like what I've been focusing on this year was I really wanted to launch a lentil chip. And I thought, how can I solve these problems of flavor, velocity, and no education? And
Right.
what is a product in which like it backs, right? Like, how can I take my love for lentils and put them in a snack form? And like the thing about Paro, the vision was always like a pantry staple brand, like very similar to like an Amazing Siete model or Old El Paso model, where I would say like, oh, you have taco shells and seasonings and salsas and this. And so I envisioned Paro's family to be this way. Again, like this is my beauty brand, by the way, like because beauty and food are very different. Like in beauty, you can build families. In food, it has to be so category specific. But my goal with these lentil chips was like also a huge white space. You can either get really delicious snacks and chips at an Indian, Pakistani grocery store, and that's really it. There's no crossover, right? And so this all goes back to like the Tarka in the sense that I sort of went back to the drawing board and was like, how can I accomplish my goals with a different product? And like, I think the key, really difficult part of being a founder, and, I think for me as a solo founder is focus. And like being able to say that this month or this quarter or this year, I'm only focusing on this one thing. That is like by far the hardest thing for me because I like to do everything. And I always think, how hard could things be? And I think that I'm like an exceptionally type A, high functioning individual where I can do it all and get in trouble all the time when I realize that I can't. And so I decided to refocus from the Tarka to another product in a way to solve for the initial need, which was velocity, like product market fit, customers getting familiar with a brand. And then my thought was, let me reintroduce Tarka after I've gotten people in through the door, you know? And I think this goes back to like overall how to come out with, you know, it's a South Asian brand. We have spices, we have products that are not as common and require education. And I definitely chose a hard product to launch with as product number one. I think that if it was an easier entry point, you know, I think about all my comparisons are to beauty, but it's like a comparison to like a lip balm is always easier to do before you get to like a complexion stick, right? Because like you want to build that customer obsession. And I think in beauty, there's always that one product that each brand is known for. And for me with Paro, I was like, oh, I don't have that one product. Like people only know me for the Kitchari, they know me for fennel seeds or the Tarka. And so I think part of it was sort of like rewiring my objective with Paro. And, you know, this product still hasn't launched yet. I have like a big retailer meeting this week, and the strategy is really to get retail buy-in and like their sign off, because I think that's something else that really helps with product development as well in the process, because I created my products super authentically with flavors that I love, that like my mom would sign off on, that like my family and friends would love. But that's not always the, you know, white American customer who's living in Ohio and wants to try something new. And so I sort of like went from the Tarka, which was such an authentic product, so near and dear to my heart, to say, how can I message flavor in a way that is going to be more scalable, if that makes sense. And I learned a lot about unit economics. And so I will say, I know you wanted to talk about the Tarka. I can't even tell you what the final cogs are because I'm like so embarrassed by how expensive this product is. But all I can tell you is like the key itself was probably $1.50 in each Tarka bottle. It's a lot. And I think the other piece of this is the tolling cost, which I know you're familiar with, and I've heard, you know, other founders talk to you about it. It is really hard to find a co-packer that's willing to work with key, because it is, even though it's like lactose free, it's considered dairy. And it like when it's heated, it like sputters and it splashes. And so the co-packer has to shut down the entire line for the day so they can do like a massive clean out because of the oil consistency. And so the tolling cost was astronomical, you know? And like what I had done is like I had researched with other suppliers, like what can the tolling cost get to? So I knew, okay, it's crazy now, but I know it can get to 50 cents. But that pathway and how long it takes to get there is also real. And so when people say, and this is like the number one advice I give founders, because people are always like, the margins suck, but they'll get better at volume. And I'm like, no, they won't. Like, it really depends. But like, you're not going to go from a 60 to 90% margin. Like, there's no way. Like, you might save 5 points or maybe 6. So I think it's like, I also am approaching things from a very different lens now and looking at that cost in a way that I wasn't with Tarka, because I was so passionate about making it happen.
Yeah.
But everyone should go buy Tarka if they haven't tried it. And if you think it's worth the money, I'll bring it back.
That is a perfect call to action. I think we might sell you out, you know?
You guys, I am telling you, I have a group chat with like some of my best friends here in LA called Tarka Eggs, because one of my friends here, she cannot live without Tarka eggs. And Tarka eggs, I need to like trademark this. It's so freaking good. You just heat up a tablespoon or 2 of Tarka with like on your pan. You heat it very, very low heat. And then you crack a couple eggs and you make a slow scrambled egg. And it's like so unbelievably delicious. It's one ingredient, guys. It's one ingredient.
It's one ingredient. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, I hope we do sell you out, because I think from hearing you, now I'm really hungry.
Oh my gosh, should we do we should do like a promo code or something. This is what they do on
Yeah,
radios.
let's do it. That would be great.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's a date.
Great.
Well, so my last question for you is, beyond selling out the Tarka, which we've now we're obligated to do.
We're gonna do it, yeah.
How can we help? Like, what else do you need aside from an influx of customers that love eggs?
I think, honestly, you know what I think is most helpful is constantly getting feedback. And I have this conversation with my friend a lot because she's always like, I'm not going to give feedback unless it's asked. And as a founder, I feel the complete opposite way where I'm like, please tell me what you thought. Like I will email every single customer after they order and introduce myself and ask them for feedback, good, bad, ugly, and like I have gotten feedback, and like for our Kitchari, which is also sold out, the feedback was that the price point was too high. So I'm like changing the packaging from a box and a pouch to just a stand-up pouch. And I found a new co-packer that's like half the cost of tolling. So it helps determine how we can grow this business. And without that feedback, without that honest, opinion of what you thought, it's really hard to get there. So if you have tried Paro, or if you're trying Paro, or if you want to, tell me what resonates, even if you can't buy the products right now because they're sold out. What makes you excited about being part and, helping a brand like Paro exist in this world? Like, I think it's all built with community. And I know that word is so like overused now, but I think any customer, any person that messages me, it's like, I loved X, Y, and Z. I'm like, you're a part of the Paro community. Like, thank you.
That's amazing. I mean, and to hear that you're connecting with your customers that way just like touches me right to the core.
Yeah.
Having been on the customer service front lines.
Yeah, same. And I like when I joined Glossier, like it was such a big piece of my role and my vision for customer service for Glossier as I was building out the original team was we need to do everything to make sure this customer has the best experience. Because I think as operations, your job doesn't really end until the customer gets their product. And all of those things that happen for customer service, like your product is damaged or it's lost or you don't like it or you have a bad reaction, like all of that is still part of that customer journey. Like the marketing team can't even work on acquisition and retention until ops finishes their job. And so I was always like, if someone doesn't like the product, have them keep it, like have them share it with a friend, and like that tagline of like, keep it, share it with a friend or donate it, I think still exists with Glossier. And it's something that I've used in other brands too, because it's just so true. I'd rather if you don't like it, you give it to someone and share the brand love I didn't love this, but you might.
You might. Yeah. Yeah. It's such a subtle flex on like word of mouth and community marketing.
Exactly.
To be able to do that.
And I think people forget how important customer service is. Like, it's so nice when someone makes your day that way, and you're like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I didn't expect you to do that, but thank you.
Yeah. I feel like those little interactions can really, it's hard to put a dollar amount on them because you never know how many people are they going to tell a good or a bad story to?
Exactly.
It's really hard to measure, except that we can say that directionally the number is very high.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, directionally. The goal is that it will be high. Yes.
I could talk to you about ops and all of this all
well,
day.
I'm just going to say, I think the next steps are for us to write our book. Let's tell your Aunt Annie. Yeah, get ready. We need a book cover designed. How hard can it be? And then like the subtext could be like living life as a delusional founder.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will send you a picture
of
memoir. The proto copy, but we'll add the tagline, of course.
Yeah. And this is our formal, we're letting everyone know we're working on this.
We're letting everyone know we're writing a book. Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep your ear to the ground. We're doing idioms today.
Ear to the ground. That's another good one.
For our forthcoming book, How Hard Could It Be? And run, don't walk.
Run, don't walk.
Go to the Paro site and let's sell this thing out. Thank you again for coming on. It's so fun to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Bye.
I know.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Commerce is Chaos. If you're listening, I have a feeling you know just how much good leaving a 5-star review can do for a team. Drop us a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to Commerce is Chaos wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to our Substack, also called Commerce is Chaos, for more good stuff and actionable tools to build your business.